Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show on Sherdog.com. Brian's laughing in the background because instead of pressing the record button 5 seconds ago, I turned off my light. But I managed to press it this time, and we are live for our Oktagon 72 look ahead. Brian, how are things? It's been a busy year so far for yourself and for Oktagon and everything, and we're back for another one. But I feel like this is the time of year that Oktagon really kicks into gear. And I'll tell you why. Because the soccer season's over. I feel like everyone, these people in the Czech Republic or in the UK or in Germany, especially, as we'll see in a couple of weeks, they've had their 19 games every weekend. They go to see their team, they travel away and things like that. Now, there's nothing, there's this Club World Cup is coming up, but no one cares about that. There's no World Cup, there's no European Championships. Most people take their holidays a little bit later in the year. There's a void to be filled, and I feel like Oktagon have done a really good job in the last couple of years, and again this year, of filling that void. Am I just making that up, or is that an actual play? Is that a thing? Is that what Oktagon actually strives to do at this time of the year?
I will tell you, it's very astute, mate, because part of the meetings that we have, when we look at booking the dates or the arenas, and even when we're looking at launching the ticket sales or the registration, all of that plays into it. All of it is a factor. So, and especially when we do it in different territories. So Germany has different holidays, many more holidays than the Czech Republic, Slovakia, and other countries. So it's a weird thing. But yeah, when we see the gaps with sports in particular, and because we're not at 3 a.m. in the morning, we're not asking you to stay awake till 6 a.m. This is a point where we realize we can engage with new fans, and even that space that people always want to fill it. People always want more sport, more competition, more events like this. But yeah, that's definitely a part of it. It's a strange conversation we have sometimes where we have a screen with all the different calendars for sports, big tournaments, and even national holidays. But that's all part of the planning.
I've been talking to a few different people from a few different organizations over the last while, and I feel like, and I want to ask you this question rather than saying it as it's true, but there's a lot more, say, people like yourself who have been around the game for a long time, or are kind of understand what the fans think, or understand, even speaking to a lot of the media and different things, that the kind of the promoters are bringing those people in and giving them maybe more of a say, and maybe having, let's say, maybe a few ex-fighters even, and is that the case in Oktagon as well? Because I feel like that really helps promotions, and I've a few examples maybe that I can't say here live necessarily, but I know that has happened, and that is that a thing in Oktagon as well, that there's as you said, it could be one or two voices that decide everything, but getting words from other people really helps as well, especially when you're going to different parts of the world, as you suggested there a second ago as well.
Yeah, I mean, with Oktagon, there's a German team, there's a Czech team, there's a Slovakian team, there's the remnants of the English, the Irish team as well, which is still a goal at some point to come back. But that ground knowledge and right from knowing the sport, knowing the landscape, because Germany was so different. Going there has been a huge journey. When we first went there, we weren't allowed. I mean, businesses would actually petition to not have us near them because MMA had a bad rep. And now you look like three and a half years later to it becoming a huge sport on RTL Plus as well, which is their biggest channel. 60,000 seats sold out in Frankfurt. We've already sold, I think, 80% of the seats for the next one. Hamburg sold out already. That journey was massive. And if we hadn't respected sort of the and understood, that's a better word for it, the landscape of that country properly, then we wouldn't have integrated the same. And I think that's one of the keys. I mean, having that authentic feel and understanding of what the country is like and what the fans are like, even the fighters, the experience, the level of the gyms, the type of stars or personalities that have yet to break through, like Max Holzer. You look at where he was when he started with us, midway on a local or like a regional promotion on the card. And then in 4 or 5 fights, he's headlining. He's got another big card coming up and he's like a national star. So it's definitely, there's so much that goes behind it and it's not easy. Again, you look at the events we're doing and the fact we're selling out all these arenas and stadiums. That's not by chance. Every little bit of effort, like you highlighted there, and understanding of the markets and the people and the fans and the fighters all play a big part in that. Even down to how the wording for promotional stuff, it all goes through people that are from those countries or have that experience.
Another thing, it was funny. I was thinking about it earlier on. I'm glad I remembered it here now. Jordan Breen passed away in the last week or so, and I feel like a big part of why people loved him so much was like his knowledge of the other side of the world. Let's say, whether back in the day it might have been a Cage Warriors fighter coming through, before the whole McGregor thing, or it might have been a fighter over in Japan and things like that. And I was talking on the podcast this weekend. There's like I think a little bit of that has kind of gone out of MMA. Mainly because there's so much UFC and we can't, it's very hard to consume anything else. Is that a thing that Oktagon have actually tried to become as well? Because I feel like there is a little bit of that with Oktagon. Like, even I put out a thing the other day, and I put out like 6 or 7 fighters who, from different promotions who I like really like and maybe people could watch. And a lot of the replies were Oktagon fighters. A lot of people like, I like this fighter, or Will Fleury, or whoever it might be from Oktagon. Like, Is that a ploy as well from Octagon, that massive success mainstream in the Czech Republic and Slovakia, and becoming that obviously in Germany as well, but for the UK fans, the Irish fans, the American fans especially, I suppose, to become like, maybe not necessarily what Pride was back in the day, maybe what Strikeforce was, or maybe what Cage Warriors was when there's this guy McGregor coming through, or this guy Bisping coming through, or whatever it might be. Like, is Oktagon that? Like, is that like, because I feel like KSW has been that for a good few years, and maybe KSW and Oktagon now are kind of fighting for that a little bit at the moment, but people look at Oktagon, they see these big stadiums, they see how well they're doing, and it's pretty hard to ignore. Okay, here's the question. That's the question, but also give me your like 3 or 4 guys, if someone's listening to this, who they're the Sakuraba, or they're the McGregor, they're the Bisping of the day, who now they should be looking at it in Octagon. And then we'll get to the card and then we'll break it down.
I love it. I think, I mean, the thing with what I see with promotions is when you know what you are and you're true to that, I think that helps you grow with the audience. You become authentic. I mean, a great example is Karate Combat. I think they know exactly what they are. They're not trying to aspire to fill stadiums or stuff. They know that they're content based. They know that that people might not tune in for the whole cards, but their social media is huge. Their association with brands, them bringing in stars or celebrities to be in the audience. They know exactly what they are, and it's the same with Oktagon. It's we're not fighting to be the biggest in the world. The goal is to be the biggest in Europe. And that is what they've said from the start, and it's what we're working towards with the roster, with the events. And I think the byproduct of it is, and because we are selling out the stadiums, and because the production level is high, because the ancillary content, the shoulder programming is all focused on the fighters and educating the fans on these personalities, these people, the byproduct is it can't be ignored. Because I don't know any other promotion that has put 3 stadium shows on in less than 12 months, that is consistently selling out across Europe, that is building new stars like Max Holzer. He would be one that I would go to straight away. Young, authentic, wild, amazing fighter, great backstory as well. Then another one would be, of course, Lozan Keita. You look at him and what he's done under the promotion. 1 month before debuting for Oktagon, he came out of prison for a fight he actually had with one of his friends, and it was years ago, but something happened that meant he had to go do 3 weeks in prison. Changed his life, changed his focus, changed his reality and perception of the world, came to Oktagon and has just become this megastar. And it's because he's authentic, and because as well the shows, the platforms, the backdrop that we give these fighters to fight in makes it so like the first bite is with our eyes as fans. And when I switch on and I do my research and I see a great fighter, but he's in a sports hall in, I don't know, wherever in the world, you kind of, we maybe wrongly judge some of it on that. And I think Oktagon, with everything that we do, the way the shows look, the feel, the pace of the shows, the entertainment factor we add to it as well, plus the fact we've got these stars coming through. And I've spoken about Holzer and Keita. You asked me for 3. Another one would be keep your eye out for Alina Delaslan, who's on this card. Her second pro fight, she'll be stepping out into a football stadium, which is crazy. She was a security guard at Oktagon 55.
Wow.
She watched that show from the stands as a security guard, was already competing in mixed martial arts, went on to win the IMAF World Championships, came back, debuted for Oktagon in Stuttgart, her home city, and her second fight of her career will be walking out into this football stadium. So the range of people, personalities, the matchmaking, the production, all of that, I think, builds what we are and what we're growing to be as well.
I feel like I've partaken in the party political broadcast for Octagon here, but I don't know. I really like, I don't know, maybe because I've been covering a lot of Octagon and Cage Warriors and KSWP. I really like all the chasing back. I don't know. I just think they're all doing, like, not everything's perfect in any promotion or any one promotion, but like, I don't know. It really annoyed me there in the last week. We were having that chat and like, people just don't know these. Even like Patrik Mix going into the USA, okay, he fought really badly, but like, geez, he was a great fighter and he could be a great fighter again. Like if someone, let's say Keita went in and he didn't have a great performance, something like, he's still a great fitter and he could still go on and be like a UFC champion or continue to do what he's doing.
Do you remember when it was like Hector Lombard from the other promotions? Why is his name slipped me now? The trainer of used to. Oh my goodness, why is it gone? Pantera's not Pantera. Who? Oh, are you Alex Pereira?
Yeah. Oh God,
I've forgotten his. Why is that gone?
Glover
why is that slipped out of my head? Say again.
Glover Teixeira.
Glover Teixeira. There we go. Thank you, mate. But all these guys that you would hear about, and they would almost become, and even like Khalidov and stuff like that with KSW, you'd always wonder what's going on. I don't think there's enough of that. Exactly what you're saying. I don't think there's enough of that where people are seeing the broader picture and just how good some of these other promotions. You go watch Jungle Fight League in Brazil. It's fucking insane. It's crazy. Some of the young talent that come up and through these promotions or around the world. There's so many good fighters, good promotions. But you're right. And I think it's what Oktagon is doing well is we're bringing some of those talents through, or we're trying to spotlight some of these new personalities or fighters like Vosgrone. Nobody would predict what happened to him from his first fight to now nearly 500,000 followers on Instagram. A wild, journey and rise. But I think the platform helps. I think having the backdrop of full stadiums, having the production that is, high quality. And like you said, nothing's perfect in any promotion, but I think that the mix and the perfect storm that we create outside of the UFC is strong for the brand.
Right, let's talk about the car. And you mentioned Vosgrone there. Unfortunately, he's out of his fight. And funny, another one of the people who I mentioned to look out for, Mattia Peñas, is also that fight is off, but I believe that fight's going to be happening in a few weeks' time as well, so that's not too bad. But give us a quick update on the card and I suppose who's out before we get to who's in.
Well, there's the Tip Sport Game Changer has taken a hit in this now. We had two of the quarterfinals. We had Mick Stanton, who was taking on Karim Engizek. Engizek is the current middleweight champion for Oktagon. That belt is frozen while the tournament goes on, so it wasn't for the belt. But Mick Stanton made a huge statement, not just with his victory, but also with part of the process with the Tip Sport Game Changer is the fighters get to pick who they face, and it's all drawn out, so it's all even, it's all fair. And he was the first pick, and he went straight to Karim Engizek. So I know he's disappointed, but he feels that it gives him more chance to get better, and he's going to be an even worse beating that he's going to put on Engizek when that card happens. Mate Peñas versus Piotr Wawrzyniak. Peñas got an infection this week. He tried to make it through, but it would have definitely affected not just the performance, but the weight cut. So sadly, those two are off, and then Vosgrone got injured as well. So that's three big fights, or some big personalities gone on that one, but you've still got top of the card, the trilogy fight between Vemola and Attila Vegh, and both of those guys are pioneers in their countries, in the Czech-Slovak scene. Their shoulders are pretty much what Oktagon stands on. Back, when Vemola left the UFC, he was the first ever Czech fighter to get there. He came back and he looked to join Oktagon. At that point, Attila Vegh was the first ever Bellator champion from Slovakia. He got like a victory parade when he arrived back. Documentaries were made about him. He became a big star. And they fought the first time, Oktagon 15, and Attila Vegh knocked him out in, I think it was less than a minute, like 58 seconds or something. Karlos Vemola waited 5 years for revenge. That revenge came a year ago in the same stadium, the Eden Stadium in Prague, the first time we'd done a football stadium. And he came out and he demolished Attila Vegh, took him down and choked him out to get that revenge. He gave Attila one of his gloves and he said, my final fight, I will only have my final fight with you. I'm not laying both gloves down. I will only have it with you when you say you're ready for the trilogy. Attila answered the call, and we'll see that fight go down and who will claim the Infinity Belt. And we're not the Avengers, but there is a belt being made for this called the Infinity Belt. This victory will last forever, and whoever loses will stand in that shadow of their opponent forever as well.
I think it's an interesting one because look, if you look at the records on Sherdog, you can see exactly what these two lads have been doing over the last few years. Like Vemola fought Attila Vegh fought Vemola 2019, fought Vemola in 2024, and fighting Vemola again in 2025. So he's 3 fights in a row are literally Vemola. And I think there's been 12 fights for Vemola on the other side of it in the interim. And I feel, correct me if I'm wrong here, but like it feels like Vemola honestly was like, he almost shouldered Oktagon to where it's become now. Like he's been one of the mainstays, one of those names we've known for a long time. Like even taking that Will Fleury fight, I feel like at this stage of his career, he might have just, like a normal fighter, might have just preferred, like, I'll have the Attila Vegh fight. Look, he was dominant in that the last time. You'd expect him to win it again this time and sail off into the sunset. But I don't know, and I don't know if you agree with this or not. I feel like he took that fight because it was the best thing for Oktagon, almost. Like that was a big fight, a big name for Will Fleury, almost to put him over. Like I'm sure he went in there and he obviously was trying to win and was trying to beat Will Fleury and everything like that. But God, you know, we talk a lot about John Jones these days not being the company man. Karlos Vemola must be one of the best company men in all of MMA, Brian. He must be a joy to call his fights and work with him.
And be around him as well. There is an aura. He is, and the best comparison, whether people like it or not, is he is basically the Czech Conor McGregor. As in, he's a big personality outside the cage. He's got Vemola land with lions and alligators and sharks in his front room. And he lives this lifestyle very openly, but he is also one hell of a, competitor. And I spoke to Andre Novotny, who's one of the owners. Him and Pavel own Oktagon. And he talked to me and he said Vemola has never turned down a fight. There's never been any negotiation where sometimes there's been negotiation on the money or what the date is, but he has never, ever turned down a fight. And they recognize that he has played a huge part, particularly during COVID. When everything was shut down, Oktagon rose massively. They did these underground fights, which is basically Muay Thai in small gloves with a lot of the striking and the Muay Thai guys down in the Czech Republic, which is a huge sport over there. And then they moved to doing MMA in what was their fight island, the Bobby Centrum Hotel in Brno, which is where I first called fights, which is a hotel from the 1950s. But it's got a theater and this perfect space where we just did empty, no audience shows. And during that period, Vemola started to make his rise, won the middleweight belt in that time, caught, for good and bad, caught people's attention. People watched to see him win. People watched to see him lose. But his resume, the consistency at which he fights, and then when you see him and you hear about how he trains, everybody to a man, from the coaches to the training partners, just say his work ethic it hasn't changed. It is insane. He turns up and he puts in the work, he puts in the effort. And I think people sometimes miss that because they see him walking out on a throne with a cape and a crown and all this stuff. And they think that's the guy. From what I see and what I hear as far as the fights he's taken and how much work he puts in, he is one of the most consistent hard workers on the European scene for sure.
It's interesting as well because obviously we just spoke about Vegh coming back from, what was it, 3 or 4 years out. You would have hoped that kind of got some of the ring rust out of him and maybe it'd be a better show in here because a guy like Vegh, like they always say the last thing to go is the power, and he's a powerful guy, big, tall, kind of karate stance and lovely right hands. And as you said, the first time he sparked Vemola, and the first time obviously Vemola came back and was able to choke him out the next time, and I think that was the 20th submission in Vemola's career, and that that tells you all you need to know about him. Brilliant at pushing guys against the cage and pulling them down, but has has real power in his hands as well. And that left hook, you got a 7-second left hook knockout at one stage as well. And we talking about Pavel as well, but it's an interesting fight. Like, if I'm giving my pick, it'll have to be Vemola again based on what happened the last time out. But I think, if you're Attila Vegh and this is the last fight of your career, the last fight of Vemola's career, it's almost opened up there to go hell for leather, and that might suit a guy like Attila Vegh. So a really interesting main event, and I can't wait to see it. I'll be honest, I don't think we're going. Is this 5 rounds? Is it? I don't. Whatever.
5 rounds.
I don't think. I
don't think we're going to need them.
No. I don't think we'll be. I don't think we'll be seeing that this time. But 2 legends of the sport going out like that will be epic, and I'm looking forward to both of their next ones. Then you mentioned the middleweight title fight. We have an interim middleweight title fight here between Muradov and Patrik Kincl. I watched a good bit of Muradov today preparing for this, and he's one of those guys that is just a tricky opponent, because you watch him, he was fighting Bryan Barberena, and he wrestled him over in the UFC. And then went on, looked at the name up on YouTube, and you'd hardly see him wrestling at all in 2 or 3 other fights you'd watch. But lovely leg kicks and just a well-rounded fighter. And then Kincl at the other side of it, I always call him the switch stance sniper. He's just really good, big muscular guy, doesn't look like he can move as well as he can, but so good. And I always remember that Alex Lahore fight with the big head kick and the sniper 1-2 knockdown, and he's fought Vemola as well. We obviously spoke about him, and he showed very good takedown defense against that, and good cardio as well for a guy, I suppose, of his side. But there's I suppose that Vemola fight, very hard to look good in a fight like that when Vemola is just kind of on you for so long. But ended up getting the win, beat Vemola obviously in 2023, beat Velickovic, whose name I pronounced beautifully, in 2024, and was in there, went 5 rounds obviously with Ingazeg, who's a star in the promotion right now. And Muradov on a great run, came out of the UFC, looking good, beat Scott Askham, who's been a real, in that area of the world, I suppose, a real star over the last years, and won last time out as well, only in March here, so it's not too long of a turnaround here. Very interesting fight for the title here, Bryan. Two of the guys, I suppose, who are vying for stardom in Oktagon. How do you see it? What's the story, I suppose, behind this one as well?
Yeah, this has been cooking for 6 years. They were actually scheduled to fight on a different promotion 6 years ago. So since then, obviously, you look at Muradov, and he's gone around the world and got to the UFC. Came out of the UFC actually with wins. There was a strange ending to his UFC career. And then Patrik Kincl has flown the Czech flag in the biggest promotions. He's fought in KSW, ACB, ACA, and he's just so good everywhere. And these two have had their eye on each other for those 6 years. They don't like each other. When it got to the point where Muradov was announced, which was a year ago at the Eden Stadium back in Octagon 58, Kincl was instantly upset and looking and expecting this fight to happen. Since they've been announced, it's something which the Czech and the Slovak scene, it means a lot. Muradov has made the Czech Republic, Prague, his home. He trains out at that monster gym in Prague. He's a teammate of Karlos Vemola as well, was a big part of the camp that Vemola had to fight Kincl. And Patrik Kincl just does not like Muradov. He's somebody that is really getting under his skin. And for me, Kincl didn't put, I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Engizek, but Kincl talked about not feeling right, when he fought last time. There's 60,000 people. Was it the stadium? Was it fighting out of the Czech Republic? What other factors were going on in his mind, in his body during that time? But for me, this is the fight to watch. This, for me, is 2 world-class fighters that do not like each other. The fact the interim belt is on the line because that middleweight belt is frozen while the Tip Sport Game Changer goes on. But it literally is for all the marbles. This is bragging rights. This is, this is a grudge match. This is a grudge match.
I'm just looking at the betting here, funny enough, and Kincl is the favourite, which I don't know, is that shocking or not? But how good Muradov has been, it's funny to see him as the underdog against anyone, I think. But I think there'll be probably a lot of people betting maybe the either side of that. Another fight I think there'll be a lot of people betting on is Paradeiser against Velickovic, and I see Bojan is actually the favourite. Like, and if you again say anyone is a favourite against Paradeiser, I suppose apart from Los Inqueta over the last couple of years, you know, you'd probably be foolish saying that in Oktagon. He like what a 8-fight win streak or something like that. Look, we know how good Paradeiser is, and we've talked about him a good few times. I don't know, what is it, 2 years since Bojan has fought? I know, his coach Sean Madden is always talking about him and really thinks a lot of him. He was becoming a star in Oktagon, and then this inactivity obviously happened, but this is a chance to come back in. What's the reason for the inactivity? And, this is a fight that this is kind of a dream Oktagon fight, isn't it? And I know a lot of people are very excited about this one.
Yeah, it's huge, and there's a couple of reasons, and I think first of all, how good they both did in the Tip Sport Game Changer in their respective weights. Bojan Velickovic had a tragic and crazy story on the lead up to that. So basically, in 2022, his father, who I had the pleasure of meeting, who was in his corner every single time, not in his corner, but in the crowd every single time he fought, passed away. And he came out, and it happened during a fight camp, and he was set to face Leandro Paulo Silva in Frankfurt. And he chose to stay on that card. And his walkout was so emotional. The fight was so technical. It was very close, and he lost that fight. And he was ready to quit the sport, like put it all behind him, the emotions of it, just where his body was. And then the Tip Sport Game Changer came up, and he took it. And I interviewed him before it came in, and basically asked him why. And he said, "This is my chance to prove everything I sacrificed, all those years of training, and how good I think I am. If I'm really that good, put me in this pot. Let me see how I do." He went on to beat Jon Serdu, Christian Jungwirth, David Cosma. He avenged him, and then Michaelides in the final, which is a killer's row to win the first ever Tip Sport Game Changer. His life outside has changed a bit. He's got married now. He's dedicated more to coaching. He has said, "This could be my last fight." And again, we always talk about when we hear those words, what does that mean? What's that change? But he has got a beautiful life outside of fighting now. That big prize pot of 300,000 euros definitely has helped him, settle a little bit more, be more comfortable financially, which is always the burden of fighting. You fight your paychecks, which are never as big as people think, and they get cut in all different ways. They're not much for even the higher level fights, but to be able to earn that type of money, give his now wife the dream wedding, honored his father, honored his mother when he won that trophy again, which was super emotional. But he's coming back for this, and he won. He's the number one contender in the welterweight division, despite that time off, because he won the Tip Sport Game Changer, and he's taking on Paradeiser, who got to the finals, lost to Los Inqueta, but that was at lightweight. He is huge for lightweight. People have said
that move
for years,
up is good for him, isn't it? Because a guy like Kate is so fast, and so I just think it really suits him moving up to welterweight.
And just the weight cut, like you watch a young man like that, and it was haunting sometimes. And you'd see him, and the difference between, we just saw Kayla Harrison make that 135, and they showed the pictures of the weigh-in to the evening when they did the scale. I've been stood there for the weigh-ins, and he's weighed in. He's at 70.8 or 70.3 for championship weight. And then in the evening, minimum of 10, 11, 12 kilos. And that's from 9 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night.
Crazy.
That is not good for any human being. So for me, I feel like his frame is big enough. His skill set is good enough. He hits hard enough. He trains with Jon Serdu, with Muradov, with people at Ankos MMA. And I think this is the division for him. But the first test will be the number one in the division in Bojan Velickovic. I love it.
Run us through the rest of the card, Bryan. Obviously, time is coming against us here, but there's some important fights here as well. We spoke about Daniel Skvor only a few weeks ago, and obviously, that fight was a bit of a gimme fight. This one less so, but fighting Lucas Alcina, who's a very, very good record. He put himself back in the conversation here, I assume, with a win at light heavyweight. We know Will Fleury, the blonde-haired madman was was looking for him. And now the fact that he's out, maybe there's an opening for someone else. But Ivan Bushinger's on the card as well. Anytime Ivan Bushinger's on the card, I love watching Ivan Bushinger, David Hosek as well on the card. Run us through some of the other fights there before we go on who we should be looking out for.
Yeah, totally. And I think the Buchinger versus Lengal one is just a beautiful bit of matchmaking. Great. You've got Lengal, who has had over 200 competitive striking bouts. So he's a multiple-time Czech boxing champion, karate champion, kickboxing champion. His fights are always fun. Even when he's in trouble, like the Corey Fry fight, he can find a way to come back, and he's devastating. But you look at, Buchinger, he's 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He's defying Father Time with the performances, with the power, with the skill set he's gone. He's a superstar in that world. So that walkout will be something special. You talk about that Alcina versus Skvor. That's the match that's replaced the Vosgrone, but actually style-wise, this could be very interesting. Alcina is a multiple-time South American kickboxing champion. He's won 2 MMA belts since his last fight against Karlos Vemola in Oktagon 45 at the Stvanica. So again, an open-air stadium for him. He's never fought under a roof for Oktagon, which is a little side fact. But Didi Skvor is somebody that I think every Czech fan loves. He always is ready to fight. He doesn't do huge weight cuts. He just believes in his skill set, and he's evolving as a mixed martial artist coming from that K1 background. And then the ladies that are on the card as well. Alina Delastan, I mentioned her earlier. This will be her second pro fight, taking on Dr. Rosa Gumina. And it's a tough test for Alina Delastan. Gumina has 10 pro fights already. She's fought some tough competition. But Alina Delastan believes so much in her skill set that I think if she can do this, we have a new star. We have somebody that the German fans, I know RTL Plus are already using her for promos, for interviews, for even around the cage sort of stuff. And then one last one that I will highlight is the Jaime Cordero versus David Hosek. Cordero is the standby fighter for the Muradov and Kincl one. He was also the standby fighter if anything happened with a Tip Sport Game Changer. So he still doesn't know who his opponent technically will be, but right now it's Hosek, who is a knockout artist. He is, I think he comes from the boxing background as well. Multiple-time Czech and Slovak champion there. He's fought in both countries, represented his country in Europe as well in boxing. Just a fun fight to watch for fans, for sure. And another bit of trivia for you on Hosek. He's actually a member of Mensa. He has one of the highest fight IQs in the Czech Republic, and his speciality is maths. So there you go, just to show you not all fighters are dumbasses, Sean.
As someone with a degree in maths myself, maybe,
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, did I know that? No.
Come on.
Degree in maths and economics, so not that I ever fucking used it.
Why are you sat in a dark room talking about what the hell are you doing, Sean?
Can't even press the record button.
You're better than this. You don't need to be talking to me.
I definitely am not better than this. Definitely not.
What line of maths? Any specific?
Not really. It's just one of those things. You come out of school and you're like, oh, what subjects was I good at school? I was like, I was good at maths and economics. Okay, I'll do arts and, I'll maybe become a teacher. And I'm like, no, I'm not becoming a teacher. So I just got a degree in maths that I don't use. Well, anyway.
I'm going to break it to you, though. When people come out of school, people don't think, what are the hardest subjects? Like, I left school, I was like, what's the easiest thing? And I looked at them at drama. Drama. Let's go do that.
See,
Let's do that for 3 years.
We don't have that in Ireland. We actually do real subjects here. Anyway, we leave it there. Bryan, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. Oktagon.tv, I believe it is, this weekend. Check it out. It's a really good card, and there's a lot of good stuff coming up from Oktagon this summer. So be the guy who knows the stuff that the other MMA fans don't know, and tune in to Oktagon and watch it. Bryan, thank you very much for your time. Thank you to everybody for listening. We'll see you all next time.